So hello to everybody. As I said in the previous video and in the next videos that I will record, all of the stuff will be related to mobile security, all that stuff. Because I've seen a lot of videos out there in YouTube, in everywhere, especially related to the security for mobile application, how to protect your app from hackers, from attackers, and other kind of stuff. But I haven't found specific proper information about how to properly how to properly work with all that stuff. But it's a brief explanation everywhere in YouTube out there. So that is why I would say that first of all, before going deep inside this theme, we have to understand the vector attacks that might happen. What kind of specific attacks have hackers in order to compromise the application and all that stuff. So as I said in a previous recorded video, I said that we will check out all the stuff, all the information about OWASP. OWASP, it's kind of company, it's kind of organization. I would say that the mission is to improve software security. So it has all of the stuff about mobile security, web security, all the stuff, but we will talk only about mobile side because we are Flutter developers. Especially me, I'm a Flutter developer. Doesn't matter what kind of, like, I do develop balls for not balls for Android, for iOS. Exactly, I develop for them. But most of the times, there are moments that I also develop for web, for Windows, for macOS, all the desktop, website, doesn't matter. So that is why there are new application that I'm developing right now. It calls Aware Construction. It's kind of application for web. It compiles for desktop, doesn't matter, Linux, Windows, Mac OS. But since we are decided only develop this one in for production, to release this one only for web right now, so that is why it's only for web. For the future, maybe we are going to make an application, for iOS and Android especially, and desktop apps. Exactly. So it's a kind of application for I would say people who sell apartments, buildings, all that stuff, like CRM for not for stores, maybe, not for that kind of places, but it's for people who sell apartments in order to check out what kind of their debts, maybe their incomes, revenues, all that stuff. So I would say that I'm not only mobile application developer, software engineer, but I'm a web, which writes in Flutter as well. So first of all, before going about and talk about the OWASP, the first rule is about improper credential usage. So if you take a look in YouTube, everywhere, all that stuff that people talk about is about how to properly save your credentials, secrets, all that stuff. But since I've spent quite a lot of time, I would say, going inside. Let me. I would say that, excuse me, I would say that I spent quite a lot of time like searching, finding stuff about the first rule of OWASP, and I would say that the people who talk too much in internet, some of the stuff that talk is not, it's not proper, you know, it's not right, and that false. So that is why I'm gonna show what you're gonna do, what you have to do, and what kind of stuff you don't have to use for specific moments, what you have to use for another moment, or maybe what you have to use and what you're not, you know. So first of all, what I wanted to say that in programming world, for the application that are just simple applications, I would say they don't have to, maybe they have to use some kind of what is that, protection, some kind of minor protection, I would say, that doesn't relate to their company's reputation. So it's not too much necessary, I would say. But since I'm also a reverse engineer, I would say Flutter especially, I'm a reverse engineer. I reverse a lot of I've learned from this specific applications, I would say. For example, I don't say that what kind of application I reverse, but I would say that since it's because of that, it's companies rules that don't have to be public, you know. So that is why, in order to protect their reputation, I also have to I don't have to expose the application, the code of them. So what I will do is we will create new application, and depending by them, I will show what kind of reverse engineering stuff exists out there in order that you can make reverse engineer as well. But I forgot to mention that all the stuff that I'm showing you, that I'm talking here, is just it's my own purpose, because I'm learning, I'm developing my knowledge as well. So if you find this helpful, it's wonderful. I'm very happy about that. So thank you very much for listening, for watching. So let's go. First of all, what I wanted to show you, and there are a lot of people out there, and that there's people especially with a lot of years of experience, even though top rules from OWASP exist there, but these people, experts I would say, they don't always follow the rules of them. So because it's good that OWASP developed 10 rules in order to secure your application, properly secure your application, protect your application, excuse me, even though it exists. But before going deep inside of this every rule, you have to know about attack vectors. So attack vectors mean that what kind of stuff hackers will do with your application in order to hack that. So you have to think about the protection in advance and use this protection for your application. So the hackers, the people who want to damage the reputation of company that you're working, so you have to know about them. You have to, like, in advance, be prepared for all that stuff. But remember that every application is not fully safe, it's not fully protected, because you know that there are two sides in development, like backend side, Okay, Flutter side, front end side. There are a lot of stuff, there are a lot of layers, I would say. So even though everybody knows that Flutter, Android, iOS application doesn't matter, they are very weak, I would say. You know, they will be compromised anyway. So that is why, even though you try to protect your application, there will be a hacker who is very experienced hacker, reverse engineer hacker, who can do any stuff. He can reverse engineer, find any kind of vulnerabilities from your application and expose them to everybody that might damage the reputation of your company. So even though experts say that you have to know vector attacks before going deep inside it, you have to know, that's a rule. You have to know about the vector attacks. So that is why I would say that I've seen a lot of videos in YouTube that have a lot of views, 1,000 views in every video, but it doesn't mean that the people who is talking in that specific video, he's right. Maybe he just discovered that about a week, or maybe just we'd say that a day to maybe a week, a month, and he says that you have to do this. But I would say that those people are not spends enough specific amount of time in order to explore and find out what is what. So I would like to show you, even though this kind of specific articles that you will see, it's in Russian, because I would say I know Russian, so that is why I also read stuff in Russian. But I guess we can translate it. Can we? No. Yes. So we can translate this, but I would say that there's a Starbucks company a lot of years ago. I guess that was about 2014, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. When this article was 2014. So back in the days, Starbucks and this kind of company, they had application in order to sell coffees, in order to they like this stuff, in order to the clients could order coffees right from the application. So there was an application, somehow applications Starbucks yeah, it says that Starbucks in that time publicly saved their people's credentials, like sensitive credentials, like emails and passwords right inside the app. So somehow people hacked the Starbucks application, and also there was a moment that Starbucks saved the logs right inside the credentials that have people's credentials, sensitive credentials. So that was a problem. So if you can, you are seeing that here. Can we translate this in English? I guess not. Yeah. No, it's kind of. another thing I would say. So it's saying that company Starbucks in a specific release, the application could send emails and passwords of people between other people. Can share. The application could share, so that is what it was one of the vulnerabilities of this application. Vulnerabilities. So as I said, it was this another case to vulnerabilities. It was the application saved sensitive data, sensitive logs right inside the cryptanalytics. So that was the problem. And another problem that happened in another application, especially in Snapchat, and somehow people find out about 4.6 million people users use data in Snapchat. You can see that people somehow found information about people. I guess that it was related to the backend side, so people somehow hacked the backend of the application, or maybe even though if the application was compromised, they could find the specific API, or maybe not maybe specific route which is not protected, I would say. That is the problem. That is this. I guess that the problem relates to authentication authorization. So that is why it's because of that Snapchat haven't used specific authentication authorization, specific like protection. People could like make a request to specific endpoint and get all the stuff from the users. Or maybe you've heard about input output validation. In order, for example, there's a specific text field, you can write SQL injection, and for example from that specific text field you can get users log, maybe like any kind of thing. But that is why that is a problem. Snapchat back in the days, this article is also about in 2014 that Snapchat hacker somehow compromised the application. They found information about users and the account of all that stuff. It was back in the days. It's about 12 years ago. It's 12 years ago. So even though it's 12 years ago, it doesn't mean that people can't make like hacker stuff. It doesn't mean that, there are still people who can do. Another very interesting theme that I want to mention is North Korean hackers create Flutter apps to bypass make OS security. Somehow the North Korea people, hackers or maybe like software engineer, I don't know how to call them, North Korea, somehow what they did, they used Flutter in order to bypass some kind of servers. That's kind of a specific moment that happened. They've created application, or maybe somehow they've done somehow that. Let's read, because I don't remember this stuff. North Korean threat actors targeted Apple ecosystem using trionized notepad apps. Games created with Flutter, which is signed and notarized by an Apple developer. This means that app, even if the town, yeah, I remember that they created some kind of malicious app, and they published their application macOS, I guess, and everybody who thought that it's the game, it was not a game, but malicious code. It had malicious application. Everybody who could install that specific application could send information to their servers. What is that? Virus thought to appear completely starting November 24th. It's 2024. The app name is centered around recurrency themes, which aligns with non-recurring hackers, insights in financial theft. The malicious app even simple passed Apple security checks. macOS system treat them as verified and allow them to execute without restriction. This app store of the macOS, without even checking the application, the North Korean hackers passed their macOS stuff, so the application was published in macOS. The app names are centered around cryptocurrency themes, which aligns with North Korean hackers interested in financial theft. Which discovered activity component appears more like it's been bypassing macOS security than fully fledged and highly. So what I wanted to say, so there is a hackers from North Korea. They try to publish macOS application. They've changed something. They've changed something in the macOS stuff, the build stuff, and so the macOS command couldn't see macOS team who publish applications in macOS. They couldn't see the malicious code, but bypassed the macOS security check. Okay, that stuff that I wanted to talk to you. There was specific moments in applications that people, the specific company got compromised of the application. So that is the normal. That is not normal, I would say. So that is why you have to know. And what I wanted to say you. So I wanted to mention about another guy who made a lot of articles about this. His name is Mark Abramenko. He's very tough guy, I would say. He's a tough guy. He knows Flutter very well. He started learning Flutter since 2019, I guess. Yes. So I guess that he's got his GitHub, I would say. You could go and Mark Abramenko. This guy. This guy, and what he wrote. There is an article from his there is a YouTube channel. YouTube Mark Abramenko. Not via level at this one.
На стороне. В данном случае.
So you can go and watch his so he talks about whether Flutter is dangerous or not. So if you want to watch his video, if you want to watch his video, just go ahead. I will put links down below in a description. So he talks about Flutter, reverse engineering, all that stuff. So that is why, depending on them, I just want to show the about the Starbucks. As I said, Starbucks, like in application, Starbucks save their login, their emails, their passwords publicly, and they logged the application, all the stuff to the Crashlytics. And also there was a problem that in that time that users could pay for their coffees with already saved cards, you know. I mean that, for example, you've already paid for your coffee, and the next time when you return for the specific Starbucks offices in order to buy coffee, you would use already saved in order to just let that you know you are using the same stuff again, which damage the reputation of company. And also there was a Snapchat about 4.6 million of users leaked the information was leaked. So there was in application there was a private key, the private secret of the API from the contact users contact was saved right inside the application. So because of that, 4.6 million people's information was leaked. There was another situation about in Pokemon Go. So in application, there was a game, you know, that there is a game that calls Pokemon Go. So you can go everywhere and catch the Pokemons, I would say. So people realized that how to say that, I would say that the users suddenly found out that application is asking a lot of permissions from the application, you know. And because of that, you don't have to give them a lot of permissions. Okay, we would say that all the location of the stuff, but beside the location permission, application started to ask a lot of permissions. So because of that, application asked a lot of permissions. This application got, the company especially got reputation damage. So the guy, especially the guy also, the theme that I wanted to mention to talk about, especially in this kind of section, it was about how to properly save our credentials, because the first rule of the OWASP Mobile Top 10 also says that the first rule is improper credential usage. So we have to know how to properly save our credentials, and what should we do, what should not to do. And the mobile applications, the hacked mobile applications, I would say not too much not too much bad, I would say. For example, mobile applications could be hacked anyway, so that is why you have to protect your servers first of all. So if the backend side is protected, even though mobile application is compromised, but you have to know how to protect your application, mobile application. Even if you didn't protect your application right enough, I would say that it's bad. But the server side, the backend side, also should be protected as well. Very good, I would say. So let's talk about what should we do in Flutter. Okay, let's go to the Flutter application. I guess that we have an what is that, OWASP? Do we have any kind of this stuff? Let's check it out. So I will use this kind of this specific project, so we could push the code for the specific project in order to you could find all the stuff, all this code from this repository. So I will mention this specific repository down below in description, so you could find what is that. Uh, I guess that about 2 months ago, I wrote minor codes about OWASP top risk. You can use them as well, but I will also talk about how to specific you have to do with a specific thing. Everything is here is everything already initialized, so that is why we don't have to. Dependency scope, okay, dependencies, Flutter secure storage. So, as you might say that Flutter secure storage, as I said previously in the beginning of this video, that I've seen a lot of people out there on YouTube that you have to use Flutter secure storage, all that stuff in order to protect your application. It will save you from jailbreaks, like root devices, but you don't have to believe all that stuff, Because of that, I'm initializing Flutter secure storage. I want to show that specific moment that you can use Flutter secure storage, not for like refresh and access tokens, So let me check it out first of all. There's a lot of stuff that I've done. Let's run this first of all, okay? Let's see, what do we have? Dependencies. Let me check it out whether I initialize it properly or not. Let me check it out. What it's saying? It's saying that okay, it's not an error. I would say it's just a warning maybe. Oh, that's good. Okay, that's right. So let's check it out what the specific project does, what specific screen does. So M1, the first rule of the OWASP is about hard coding sensitive data directly inside the application binary. I guess that I wrote this about 2 months ago using AI, all this kind of stuff. But you know that even though I searched a lot of stuff from YouTube, this kind of stuff, all people they talk about credential usages. Most of the time they mention about Flutter secure storage, but you have to know, as I said, you have to know vector attacks, or why you have to know about what should be saved in the application, what should not, and how properly you have to save them. Otherwise, you will use specific kind of package or maybe service not properly, which may lead to the specific kind of errors in your application. So the specific thing that I want to say that people use Flutter secure storage for saving the access tokens and refresh tokens, GWT, you know, it's a GWT web tokens, like JSON web tokens, or what is that? They save that right there in application, in Flutter application, in a Flutter secure storage, which is not right, I would say, because in every request in interceptors, if you're using access tokens or that kind of stuff, in every request in interceptors, you have to check out you have to go through the meta channels in order to find that specific thing which is located in your Android keychain, or what is that keychain? So key store keychain, I guess. So which is not properly, maybe in not in new version of Android there will be like any kind of errors, but in the older versions of Android we are not, because we are not developing only for new version of Android, because there are a lot of people out there in Earth living with a very old version of Androids, you know. Maybe because of that you are using very old version of Android, that's specific in every interceptor that you make a request, may lead to the application error, because in every request you're going through meta channels in order to find your password there, which is not correctly to do that, mate. So that is why you have to remember that. So I've seen, as I said, a lot of information about this, all people talking about that it's good to save tokens like refresh and access token in Flutter secure storage, but I would say it's not. Even though if you are your company that you are working right now, it will say that you have to use that in Flutter secure storage, or maybe you're from your like senior stuff, you know, says that you have to know what is the vector attacks before saving them. But but if you think that it's properly to use that, I would like to show you what you can do in that moment, because I will not save sensitive. It's the refresh and access tokens. They are not sensitive data. It's just because why you would say that it's not sensitive data, because even though in the application you could save that right inside the Flutter secure storage, okay, in web stuff, in website you could see your tokens in headers. So it's not sensitive data. If it was sensitive data, they would be hidden in every way in web. So that is why you just just click Alt and F12 opens the web tools. You can see your access and refresh token right inside the headers there. It's not sensitive data. If you're making requests to HTTPS, exactly. If there is not MITM, but I will talk about the MITM all the stuff later in the next videos, I would say. So let's read. It says that M1 is about hard coding sensitive data directly inside the application binary. API keys, tokens, passwords. We are not talking about the sensitive data, we are not talking about the access and refresh tokens when we are mentioning tokens. It's a sensitive data from any services, from maybe GitHub, from maybe any pet service, Passwords, secrets written as plain string letters in the source code. Because of that, maybe application and APIs. This stuff is related to iOS. Can be reverse engineered with tools like JADX, APK tool. I will show you how to revert this specific thing from the APK tool. I don't know. I used JADX once or maybe twice, which is very interesting. Also, I haven't used the Hopper, but I'm going to use that, I guess. It's saying that you can reverse your applications, especially the APK tool, which is very easy to reverse your application APK tool with using APK tool, and just you can find the hard-coded tokens, API keys effectively, very immediately, I would say. The attacker does not need to touch running device. They just decompile the app offline without knowing that somebody is going to reverse engineer your stuff, So the stuff that violates the M1, it's API key like this one, GitHub token, password. So I would be honest, I reversed a lot of application. I would say I found out very sensitive data from there, especially from what is that? People are trying to save their since everybody who is related to reverse engineering stuff, they would they know that strings can't be obfuscated, all the stuff, and even though in obfuscated application, obfuscated code, you could find out all the strings, all the stuff. So that is why, and all specific thing like env.env, flutter.env, or that stuff that exists out there in Flutter pubdev, they are trying to say to you that it's protected. It's protected, that it can be pushed to the GitHub, even though you can also add that in gitignore, just a simple Dart file without like downloading any other package. But they said that you have to use that, you have to comment that and don't push to the GitHub or all the stuff. But I would say that it's just a waste of time. So that specific friend of mine, which works in another company, I would be honest. So I reverse engineer. I didn't tell to him. I reversed his app. I found out that he's using Flutter.env, and it's very public in assets folder. I just opened that and you see all the stuff, credentials, tokens from private services. It should be hidden. It's a paid one. It's tokens a paid one. You don't have to push that. So that is why it should be in backend side. It's because instead of like right inside the backend doing that stuff, he used that right inside the application, which was not properly to do. So I found env file that was just opened keys. Yeah, the Flutter secure storage is backed by iOS keychain and Android key store. You can find on a rooted Android device the sandbox is gone. Any process with elevated privileges can read key store data directly. Jailbroken the iOS device significantly harder. iOS keychain is backed by hardware encryption, secure enclave. Extracting it in practice requires specialized software, low-level exploits. Still not impossible, but the bar is much higher than Android. So it's very difficult to jailbreak the iOS device because I don't know, they have some kind of specific secure enclave stuff that makes your application or the iOS stuff itself much more protected. But in Android it's much more easier. I guess that Android device, rooted the Android device, you can open that key store and find all the keys from that place. But there's another stuff in reverse engineering world, that the hacker who is trying to reverse engineer your application, who is trying to reverse your application, maybe he finds out the strings or maybe the specific tokens, APIs from the application, but he has to figure out from what specific service it is. If he doesn't know, he has to spend specific amount of time, which is maybe a lot of time, week or 2 weeks, in order to figure out what service is that key from. Otherwise, if he just opens the real application, just check it out, or maybe goes to the application and just without any hesitation he finds what is what, he can just figure it out from which service it is, the specific secure storage, the specific token. Excuse me. And then another case, it says that the real security lives entirely on the server side. Access tokens must be short-lived, even if it's stolen, they expire before the attacker can cause meaningful damage. Refresh tokens you have to use, because on every rotation the refresh tokens should be like create a new one. So that is why access token, refresh token very necessary in every application, because access tokens, JWT, JSON web tokens, you don't have to go to the database every time to check the user's token, but instead of doing that, JSON web tokens are signed. So without checking the DB, you can just check the token, access token, and the short-lived, maybe 1 hour or 1 hour, or maybe even 30 minutes. But refresh tokens are lived about a week maybe, or maybe less than that. It depends on backend side who is doing what. And that's it. So every stuff that you want to make any kind of like what is that, payment, or you want to save any kind of already sensitive, you don't have to do that. Save everything in backend side. Backend side should because backend side it's very specific. It's things that are not related to users. to the application, users can't call or maybe communicate with the backend side. So backend should be protected as well, but it's protected place. So every sensitive data should be located in backend. Remember that. So I guess that is our application which loads, what is that? Application controller, change notify. What is this one? Save pin, load pin. Implementation is here. It saves data in Flutter secure storage. Loads here. Save pin, load pin, clear pin, all the stuff. Yeah, it works with just a pin. Okay. Or maybe just 666 66 56. It's saved. Let's refresh. 666 is saved. So let's first of all check it out what is what. As I said previously, the M1 is much more about saving sensitive data right inside your application, not the code itself, not the in runtime, but it's more about using credentials, saving credentials right inside your code stuff. Why? Because when you're reversing an application, you can find all this kind of string. They are not obfuscated, they are not, but there are specific rules, there's specific moments that you can like secretly hide all the stuff, like dividing them into pieces, the specific token, you can divide them into pieces and just spread that entirely in entire application somewhere with different naming. So when it loads, so the hacker, when he reverses the application, it could be very difficult to him, even though he can combine them in the future. Maybe it takes a lot of time, but you have to somehow protect it. But remember that even though, as I said, a Flutter application can be reversed, can be compromised, it doesn't mean that you don't have to use security stuff. Security stuff combines like layers. You can add a OWASP by knowing about what is that, the attack layers, as I said, attack vectors. So you have to add them divide them into layers. Your first one is ROP, second one is SSL pinning, the third one is maybe anti API cryptography, or maybe there is another stuff that your backend side is doing by themselves. You can obfuscate your code. You cannot use the credentials in your application. You can just check out any text fields that the users can't add any kind of SQL injection, any vulnerabilities. They couldn't find vulnerability in your application. So it contains from layers. If every layer is protected, it means the application, even though it's not protected 100%, users, for the attackers, it can be very hard to compromise your application. So the main interesting thing that I wanted to tell you, let's imagine that there's a backend system in your application. Let's check it out. Give me a second. I just want to show you. I just want to show you one thing. So let's go. So there is a minor server of mine which is which is from this server, from kind of service. I've made that. I created this kind of URL which is written in Dart. It's a project. It's just testing project, to show you what is what. So look, for the first time when you register your application, it might give you tokens, okay? Access token and refresh token. What the simple developer might do in this kind of specific moment, he will create any kind of class, okay? Here maybe okay. So let's just imagine that. So everybody who's watching this video maybe already know how to make API requests, all that stuff. And everybody who makes API requests, and a lot of people I've seen, they might think that whenever the server responds with access token, refresh token, this specific token should be saved in Flutter secure storage. It's not right, because you might think that why, because you can put that in as I said, in key store in Android and keychain in iOS. Even though you save them, it doesn't have any sense. If you want to save them in secure storage, why, you might ask? Because access token, refresh token are not sensitive data. They are revocable. They will be changed every time. It's not a paid kind of tokens. If you might have any kind of tokens from maybe what is that, from pusher services, which is very it's a paid one. It's a take token are paid. If you use this one, or maybe any kind of any other service which is provide tokens only with pricing, that specific thing, maybe that don't have to be saved in the application, all in servers. Maybe not maybe. Excuse me, you don't have to save them in any way in application. So one of the mistakes from the newbies, I would say, is that they use the save access token, refresh token right inside Flutter secure storage. It's not right, I would say. You don't have to use them. You don't have to save them in Flutter secure storage. Access token, refresh token are not sensitive data. Remember that. So if I do that register once again, it will provide me with another. For example, in login side, every time when I make mistake, when I make request, it provides me with new data. So it doesn't have any sense, because they think that there is a mighty aim that I will talk about this one later, or any other kind of stuff. But remember that nobody can hack your application if you're not connected in Wi-Fi, some kind of third-party kind of Wi-Fi, or maybe you've not downloaded any kind of package in your application that may scan your application for sensitive data, especially only your application. It's a kind of package which you will scan only your application, not other applications. Or maybe you are connected in some kind of Wi-Fi which is observable. Some kind of guy sitting from another side of Wi-Fi, the owner of Wi-Fi maybe, who is providing the Wi-Fi for everybody free. Maybe that time everybody can be compromised, or what kind of stuff. Or maybe you will lost your application. That's a very interesting moment that you have to know that, and people might think that if I lost my application, it means that I didn't use enough protection in my application, so user or maybe somebody can you first of all you have to don't have to lost your phone device. It's the first one. The second one is that not everybody is a hacker who make it out. The third one is if person takes your phone which is lost and takes that to the specific person who jailbreak and root. You don't have to think about it. I didn't use enough security in my application since the Android device or iOS device was compromised itself, device, not application. Your stuff, like security stuff that you've made, doesn't have any sense. So you have to first of all think about that, not saving security data right inside your application. If you lost your application, you have to call for the specific bank. Maybe it's if you're using bank accounts in your phone, that they just turn off all the session from your applications, from your desktop. Maybe if you're using all the stuff, you have to remember that you have to do that. Like, or maybe you can log in from other device and turn off all the sessions. So that is why you have to know about the vector attacks first of all. Okay. And then what they do, the newbies, they will use Flutter secure storage. What is it? Do we have? Okay. Save pane, or maybe let's just copy it out. That thing that we already have this kind of stuff. Save. Okay. Refresh token. They will write refresh token. They would do it like stuff like this one. It's very dangerous. Don't do that. It's you know why it's dangerous, you may ask. It's because of that in interceptors that you are using in your application. Every time in your application, there are a lot of bunch of requests that you may do to server. Yeah, request to the server. It's a lot of requests is there, and every time when you request, it makes requests. It goes through the metal channel. As I said in a previous old version of Android, there will be 100% like errors, because it's you know, every time you have to go through the metal channels. It's very dangerous. It's not cheap, you know, for your device. For device, it's not cheap. It takes a lot of, like, maybe RAM. It takes a lot of battery, and Flutter itself, you don't have to like make a lot of. For example, you can use the shared preference. Shared preference loads, saves data right inside the hash map, and also in the, I would say, in such a file. I don't remember what kind of file it was. Just a text file, or what is that? It saves that right inside the text file and also in RAM. So that is why for the first time when you load your application, shared preference loads data in RAM from the storage of your application, like the text file, I would say, loads that right inside the. So that is why it doesn't have any sense to say Flutter secure storage for tokens, access tokens. I'm only talking about access tokens. You know, access tokens are not sensitive data. Refresh tokens, access tokens. So, what's interesting thing that I wanted to tell you? As I said, we don't have to save any kind of sensitive data. Like, for example, let's imagine that in your application there's a, let's do not touch this one. Okay, like let's remove this one. Don't do this. Okay, don't do this. It doesn't have any sense. Just it doesn't have any sense. So let's go and imagine that you are, what is that? You are a newbie, and since somebody senior stuff, even though I've seen a lot of people, they think that even though they've worked about 3 years, 4 years, and all of a sudden they call themselves senior engineer for 4 years, with 4 years of Flutter engineering, all the stuff. But in reality, I would say they're not seniors. Maybe about a middles or higher middles, but not seniors. I've seen a lot of seniors that talk too much, that save the data right inside the application, saying that we are making our application protective. There's our bank application out there exists, which doesn't work properly, I would say. In our country, there's a bank application which doesn't work properly. It gets with the DOS attacks all the time, with freezes, which is written in Flutter, I would say. And let's imagine that newbie creates, like senior gives him, or maybe the backend senior gives him a token which is from the paid service. The token is from paid service, and the senior from backend side gives him and says them save this specific token right inside your application. The newbie shouldn't do that. It doesn't have to do that, because as I said, it's sensitive data, which is paid token service from services. Any kind of sensitive data the refresh and access token are not sensitive data, remember that. But the real sensitive data should not be saved in application. Let me show you why. So look, let's imagine that you have application, okay, and there's a sensitive token. Let's imagine that it has some. Let's write any kind of interesting thing here. It's OWASP 2026. Let's make this one very so it could be visible. We could see what is what here. So in order we could understand the future, what we are reversing. Okay, so we have a sensitive token, and person who's developing the application might think that it's impossible to find out the specific key. But right now I just want to show you that that specific key can be compromised and can be seen when it's reversed. So all the stuff from the OWASP ones means that you don't have to save the sensitive tokens like this one. All that stuff should be saved in backend side. You don't have to use Flutter secure storage also as well. Why? Because for this specific kind of service token, it doesn't have any sense. If you are writing this one right here, and after application loads, you save it inside the Flutter secure storage, it doesn't have sense. In the end, there's another moment. For example, there's a specific moment that you in a server, and when the client and server is communicating for the first time after logging, like when it's successfully, server responds you with a specific token, specific sensitive token, which is not right to do as well. Okay, I mean that saving that inside the application is not right. Saving sensitive tokens, sensitive passwords, tokens, emails, all that stuff. Okay, for example, if you want to somehow save your email and password, For example, you are logging, okay, you send your data to the server sends you back that it's successfully, and somehow you want to not add your tokens, your email and password again and again after you want to load your sensitive data from your application, right from your application. That time it has sense. For example, you want to save your email and password in your application, you could use Flutter Secure Storage, because Flutter Secure Storage in that specific moment of time you don't have to like make requests. So it's just the once you load your credentials right from the Flutter Secure Storage, your email and password. It's a moment. It's just a moment when you don't want to all the time write your email and password all the time again and again, but there's a button that loads and fills the text field. You know what I mean? Like, let me show you. Like this one. Like this kind of stuff, like this kind of stuff. You have like this one. When you sign in, you want to save credentials. Save credentials means that admin and password will be saved inside the Flutter Secure Storage, and next time when you log out, it will be saved there right inside here. It's a like helper, you know. Yeah, it's hidden. It's hidden only for other people. For example, someone's there is a maybe as I mentioned that someone stole your application, steal your application. Someone steal your application and excuse me, your phone device, and someone makes you root, or what is that? Doesn't matter. When someone's root that specific thing, they couldn't find your email and password. Access and refresh token are not sensitive data. I'm just mentioning them again. So password and email are sensitive data. They can be used inside that one, but it's hard. Even though, as I said, root and this one are very. It's easier in Android, but it's very hard in iOS. It doesn't mean that you don't have to use this one, but it has. First of all, you have to know attack vectors, what should be saved in Flutter Secure Storage and what is not. And let me check it out. Let me show you one thing. There's a two tools, I would say. There are a lot of tools, but specific tools that I have. It's let me check it out. Okay. Okay. For example, what I wanted to say, there are specific type of tools that exist in Flutter ecosystem, I would say. The specific type of tools to reverse Flutter applications. If you are trying to use any kind of them, that I have only two of them, like Flutter, which is very butter, it's a blatter. Very interesting thing, this one. But the Reflutter is very popular. It was very popular back in the days when the reverse engineering stuff and this kind of stuff came out for the first time. So Reflutter, even though you can use Reflutter, you can use burp suite in order to check out the requests, what kind of request thing are happening in your application. So like man in the middle, you can check out this one, Reflutter, but I don't want to show this one Reflutter because our topic is about the first rule of the OWASP, Improper Credential Usage. You can check it out. But I want to use Flutter, which is very interesting thing. It's reverse engineering tool. It helps to reverse engineer to find exactly like folders that might exist in your application. It shows everything, I would say. So that is why we will use this Flutter. It's much more interesting than this Reflutter. Reflutter, which very good, I would say. You can use the burp suit, but it's kind of difficult with this one, Reflutter. But because I forgot to mention that every time a Flutter team releases the new version, every new version of Flutter, every of them has, I would say, specific type of code, or I don't know, which is very hard to reverse engineers to reverse that, because maybe specific symbol or maybe specific thing, it's very hard to reverse. So that is why every time the reverse engineers, they have to update their tool, so that for future releases of the Flutter, the apps could be easier to reverse. The reflutters, it has kind of problem, so it's very interesting for the application that were released with very old version of Flutter, but let me 1 second. So reflutter it's kind of, as I said, Flutter. Every time when Flutter team release new version, the Flutter engineers, it's kind of very hard to reverse that. Maybe the some symbols or maybe specific time. So the blotter checks out the version of the application that you're reversing. It automatically download specific Dart version, Dart thing, and depending on them, it reverses it. It's very interesting. So if you want to use this one, just I will mention this one, this specific project down below in the description, so you could find. So just go, if you are using Windows or macOS, doesn't matter, Ventura, just go through these ones and update. If you're using macOS Sequoia, it's easier. Just install that for the macOS, and using Python you can use the RM 64 version of the application. I will show this one should I pick a tool, and for the specific place. So look, so we have, what do we have? We have this kind of stuff. Okay, so we want to reverse engineer and find out the specific token. Okay, look, for example, you will create a Flutter application. So I guess it's will be any kind of problem with this one, I guess. Built-in Kotlin using this guide. Okay, it doesn't matter. That's all. Look, now we will go to our app output, and let's check it out. Prevalent Finder. Okay, we will take this one and we will put somewhere in another folder, I would say. Okay, I have hacked apps. Let's open the terminal. Okay, open the terminal. You know what, let's do something else. First of all, let's delete this one. Okay, we will create a new one. Let's go make Flutter clean. And let's go do another thing, which is very interesting for the reverse engineers as well. Flutter.env. Very bad thing, I would say. Let's copy this one, put somewhere here. Okay, Flutter. Get. We have assets here. Okay. So if you use this kind of Flutter.env, some days you have to remember that Flutter.env that you're creating is not safe. It's not safe. Okay. So the recommendation, it says that you have to create that assets, and inside assets you have to create .env. Okay, and you have to go copy this one. What is the rules of them? How to properly save this one? Do they show anything? I like this one. Okay, whoa. Key is similar like this one, but instead of this you have to write something like maybe second key, like it means second key. Okay, let's do one more thing. Flutter build apk release. Let's check out what happens. Okay, the outputs, Apk, Prevalent Finder. Okay, let's open this one. Let's navigate. cd hacked apps. Okay, then do. Okay, I wanted to show you about the APK tool, which exists out there. It's kind of tool in order to unzip your APK. You know, if you heard about the APK is just kind of zipped file, zipped kind of file that will be run in your application. You can back in the days you could publish this one right inside the Google Play, but right now it's APK bundles. But APK it's kind of zip file, you know. It could be unzipped. It could be like opened, and doesn't matter. You can find the SO file, which is binary code. Let me show you. So APK tool, you can go to the installs, install the specific tool, like pre-install for the macOS, for the Linux, for the Windows. You can use this specific rules how to download APK tool in your device, in your machine. And then since we are inside the hacked apps folder, which is all our stuff is right there. What is it? Let me check it out. So look, we are decoding the APK tool that we are created recently, and if we go inside, we will see assets. And assets, there's a Flutter assets. You can see inside the Flutter assets our I forgot to do one thing, but that is why it's not generated. Let's delete both of them. Let's go. Since we haven't added env file inside our assets, that is why it's not generated. Since the package maintainer is recommending us to add this specific env inside assets, that is why. Let's do our thing once again. Excuse me for taking too long in order to show you one thing. There may be a specific type of mistakes from me. What happened? We moved our env file from assets here, so like other people will do, like env, like this kind of stuff. Yeah, so env file should not be published to the GitHub or kind of stuff, which is very mistaken. Even though it's not published in GitHub, what is the sense if the reverse engineer can reverse and find every key from that env? So let's check it out once again. Let's check it out. Assets, Flutter assets. Am I how what's happening here? What's happening here, right? I am not loading that, that's why I guess. Let's first of all initialize that, because since we're not loading this one, I guess that's why it's not appearing there. I guess that is the problem here. Then it loads from the assets and it puts inside the assets, I guess. Let's check it out. Since because I haven't used that Flutter done yet, about 3 years or maybe 2 years after I knowing that Flutter.em can be appeared inside the assets, so that is why I'm not using this one anymore. If I'm using GitHub secrets. Something is very, for example, that production things, even though it's because of that I don't want to push that in GitHub. That is why I'm using that. If something is very hidden, I would say what I do, I use Dart defines, and using the GitHub, I loaded specific not published GitHub things from the GitHub secrets. Then from the CI/CD that exists in GitHub, that will be loaded and combined with the application as well, like loaded directly in defines or Dart defines in binary, I would say. So for the secrets that from their paid service, I don't use them directly in the application, but I've seen people that are using that one. What's happening here? Why it's not appearing? What was our key? Like this one, pop inv.env key. Let's just check whether it opens or not. Private gets loaded, but let me check. Let's check once again then. Once again, check. Mm-hmm. The error is what? Why it's not appearing? Or maybe it's a hidden one, I guess. Yeah, it's hidden. That's why it's not showing. Once again, mates. Once again. I remember why it's not appearing. I remembered why it's not appearing. I guess it's hidden one. That's why. Where is the assets? Flutter assets. That's env. Yeah, you have to click the command shift and dot, I guess, in order to hide and show them. So check it out, the env file is showing. If you open that, you can see this one. That's the problem. If you open this one, it opens and shows you the keys. We put that inside the git ignore, even though it loads when you create a new release for your application. It doesn't mean that you are secure for something, you know, you're protected, you know, it doesn't mean like that. So since we opened the application, there is another thing. Inside the lib folder, we have several type of how to say that, compiled code for the specific type of architecture. For the 64 type of for 32 bits of bytes of architecture, for 64 type of like a bytes architecture, RM, which is RM. I don't know what is this one for the like older version of Android, I guess this one. So the main thing, the lib Flutter, so it's all the Flutter engine's code, which is compiled exactly right inside the binary code. If you open this so file, there are a lot of symbols that we don't understand. I guess that it's much more about like assembly code, which is directly for the processor code, which is binary code, I would say, specific compiled code for the specific architecture. And libepso, it's compiled application, compile application to the binary code, which contains all of your Flutter application, your written Flutter application. So what we're gonna do now? So as I said, if you open the app release, so this is APK itself, and through the APK tool you can decode this one using APK tool, decode your application APK. Then it will generate it a folder like this one. If you open that, you will see a lot of things, assets. If you open that, you can see the env file that we are created right recently. And also you can open the lib folder. Inside the lib folder rm64, there is the application of yours. So what we're gonna do now, there is also there is another tool exists which calls radar, in order to check out the strings in your application. This one, you can install this one as well. Just go through the installation, check it out, and that's all. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. It doesn't take a lot of time, that's all. So we can do one thing. Since we have a libso file using the radar, which is a tool, as I'm showing right here, radar 2, and it's decompiles all the strings from your, it has specific type of code when you write them. This kind of tool finds all the strings, all the specific type of strings exactly from your application and shows you. So it calls radar 2. So we can navigate to our applica tool, okay, app release, which contains from lib, if I'm not mistaken, which contains RM64, and inside the RM64 we write air2 and lib so libapp so file, like this one. So it will say to us to write specific command. We will write 6 A's. Okay, it analyzes all of the stuff. Since our application is very little, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. But I have one application I tried to reverse it myself, since it was obfuscated, and I always release my application with obfuscated, the specific last applications, because look, I didn't know much more about reverse engineering. That is why I published every application that I've made without any obfuscation, which is very easy to find out. Even though obfuscation doesn't help for strings to be obfuscated, but somehow it makes harder to reverse engineer to find out what specific logic it has. But right now in our AI world, I would say, if you have proper like cloud code with Opus, or maybe there's a new one that recently came out, Fable, what was that, Fable, Opus Fable, which is very strong AI. Cloud Fable, yeah, recently, and it was shut down, I guess. Everybody who bought this one, that's very bad. So we will write another command, which is double I, and then we will write IZZ. Look, it shows all the strings in our application. If we go and find out our keys that we wrote recently, like this one, copy this one, and find out here why it's not showing. Let me check it out. Why it's not showing? So it's a tool that shows all the strings in your application. I don't know why it's not showing right now. Am I doing something wrong or not? But it's not showing. Okay. So another thing that I wanted to show you, it's Jadix. It's a Java decompiler, which is very interesting about especially Android reverse engineering. But since our Flutter also use Android, all that stuff, it can be decompiled as well, like reverse engineered, I would say. So look, since we have a app release here, APK, okay, what we're gonna do now, we will go hacked apps, okay, inside the hacked apps, like this one here, we will write Jadix app release .apk d output, like this one. If we open this, a lot of files you can find here, resources, Android manifest, all the stuff, Kotlin, and lib file, as we did right now, you know, this kind of stuff. So there are a lot of files, Android X. But what I wanted to show you, since we created output there, okay, since we created output here using the command grep extends application, extends activity, extend Flutter activity, you can type this one, it will show all the stuff in your activity. Like this one. Look, it shows the Android manifest, or maybe you have any kind of not Java, or we have main activity Kotlin, main activity. For example, what do we have here? We have Android, app, src, Kotlin, com example, okay. Sources, com, com example, OWASP top sources, get output sources, com example, OWASP top risks, main activity Java. So that is your application. like this one, Flutter activity. You know, it's kind of abstract one, but it's the same thing, I would say. So if your application somehow uses private keys right inside, for example, you might see Google's private keys, Google Maps Flutter. They recommended us to save our tokens inside main activity, I guess, if I'm not mistaken. Just check it out. Yeah, you see somewhere here. You have to somehow protect your application, protect a specific file, so the API keys, or maybe even yeah, it's very hard, I would say, to hide specific type of Google's APIs. So what else I wanted to show you? I wanted to show you a specific type of thing, how we can get this one. We can go and do one more thing. Let me check it out. Okay, let's go to the Flutter. Flutter, since we already installed this one, we will use only this one. So look, inside the hacked apps, I want to decompile, like hold the application of our current project. So we can go download this specific Flutter, since my Flutter is somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, it's somewhere in development, Flutter and Flutter. It's I guess the same project. That it's I just cloned it and git cloned it in specific folder. So we can go to the CD development Flutter. Okay, Flutter, and Flutter there should be, I guess, the Python. Do we have Python here? Yes, to Python 3. So since we have Python 3 here, we can copy this one. Okay, we can copy this one, and we can go to our what was that? We can go to our hacked app release lib epso. We can copy this one, just copy this one. How we copy? Yes, this one. Copy the path, and let's go to hacked apps and copy this path as well, like the one it's saying here. Let's this one. Let's do this one. Lib app file. Cannot find what? Okay. We don't have to write this one. I guess that's all. It will download a specific version of Dart, Dart 2.3.12, I guess, and it will decompile all the stuff, like reverse all this stuff that's written is Flutter in Flutter, and then we will get a folder which is already fully reversed, I would say. Let's check it out. Somewhere here there should be, yeah, this one. it will be combined into one thing, I guess. No? No, we don't have to like this one. We will delete them all in one thing. Hacked apps, and we will write OWASP reverse it. OWASP reverse it. Like this one we have to do. Dart tool, Flutter, OWASP Breeze. This is our folder. Let's open this reverse in Flutter. In and OWASP Breeze. This is our reversed application. Like the dependency is called. Yeah, you might ask me to why it's written in specific type of way. It's assembler code. It's meshing code, which is very clear for your machine, for your specific processor. If you don't know what kind of processing, how it works, like just go throughout the YouTube, find out. And I also talked about the reverse engineering. I also talked about the Dart virtual machines garbage collector in the previous video, so check it out. That specific meshing code is right here. You can see all our code that is like inside dependency scope, like this one. It's like this one, you know. If we open our main folder, and let's copy this one. Check it out here. It's all about, excuse me, I forgot to mention that since Flutter release, it has kind of optimization. Since we are not using the sensitive token anywhere, it checks out the sensitive. If we are not using it anywhere, it will be removed from the application. That is the problem. I forgot that. So it's good to forget that. So it's happened right, like similar to the thing that we had talked recently. So that is what. Don't be upset. Don't judge me strictly, as I said. I would say. So there is why sensitive token should be used somewhere. So that is why we will go and use that sensitive token somewhere. I don't know, maybe in error widget, or maybe dependencies. What do we have? Like somewhere here, maybe. Somewhere here. That's my guess. I guess if you don't use that, it will not be in our application. So that is why we have to create new release. Excuse me for that. So I would say, I want to mention that Dart virtual machine has two types of compilers, AOT and GYT. GYT we know, but AOT has much more optimizations, like type safe analysis, unreachable code, dead code, illumination, all that stuff. It goes throughout the project and finds like tree shakes all the not necessary things, like it tree shakes a lot of stuff, and unnecessary things will be removed from the application. So what does the OWASP Breeze do? What does tree shaking do? Remove all the stuff, and if specific thing was not found, was not used, is in any way in application, it will be removed. So that it's that code. So let's check it out. Let's remove all the stuff once again. we'll go to the look, APK tool, decode, cd, cd hacked apps, APK tool decode up. We can go now to cd app. What was that? Development, Flutter, and after that we can do something like this one. Okay, open this one once again. Let's check it out. OWASP main.dart. Let's check it out once again. Find out. Look, our key right inside our reversed stuff. Hey, what's this one? What is this? You know, I got that one. In OWASP top risk, you can find store pin hash. Our key here is using. Even though I showed you with the radar, so we can navigate to our hacked apps and APK release and leap, yeah, ARM64, and inside here we can write down R2 RM, what was it, leap, so leap app, so okay, 6 A's. Look, we can find our key right inside our reversed application. We are searching our application inside the app release leap, like inside this one. Since we found a reversed application from here, let's check it out. Since it worked, it's working. Okay, look, our application is looking similar like this one. Okay, it's not obfuscated. It's such a thing that if you open your application via this one, it shows every folder that might exist in your application. Like very interesting. It shows very beautifully, very clear that everybody, when open and reverse your application, may find that, for example, your application looks exactly the same like this one. Like dependency scope, dependency that we have right here. Look, leap folder. Let's clear this one. Close this one. Last stop with dependency scope, dependencies, error widget, but every code is in what is that? In assembly code. It's meshing code. It's meshing code which is clear, which is only understands the meshing code, only understands not you. But if you send this specific code to AI and say to them that let's open, okay, let's open new terminal, okay, cd to hacked apps, okay, OWASP reverse, and open the codex here, and let's say to Opus, or not Opus, to codex, said, look mate, there is a reversed code of my project inside OWASP top risk using that folder. What is that? convert to real Flutter code, okay, without deleting existing files, without deleting existing files. So it will do its own stuff until it's doing its own stuff. Let's go and write down double E and YZZ. Yes, and let's copy our token here. Okay, let's go and look it out. Look, our token is here. But as I said previously, since the reverse engineering very hard and to understand what key is what purpose, what specific key is using for what purpose, is very hard to understand. So that is why maybe you find the key, but you have to somehow combine them. You have to somehow divide them into pieces and combine them in the future. But it's still very unclear to even though the reverse engineer might find them, but he doesn't know from what service is that, or is doing. Create a new project or what? What is doing? Okay, let's wait. I guess that I gave him in a proper prompt. That is why he's creating new Flutter project inside the OWASP reverse. Then let's check out the obfuscated thing. So it's not obfuscated. Every folder, every app file is clear. It's clear to understand or as well. If you give this one to the AI will understand how to work with this one. It will properly convert that every code. Let's check out. Let's wait. So with the radar, you can see that I'm finding that my specific OWASP key. It's not hard. It's very hard to find, but the reverse engineer, if after finding these specific keys, he will not understand from what service is that. Let's check it out. It created some dependency scope. So that is your dependency scope. Okay. This is already reversed. It was machine code, if you remember. I said to the codecs that converted Flutter code, you can see that it's a Flutter code. What? This code was converted. And this is our real project. This is not. Open dependencies. Error widget. Okay. Let's go to the main one. This is our main class. I didn't say to how the hell he understands that specific code might looks like this one, even though he generated this, but he will generate very clear code, very exactly like specific type of specific file of code, exactly looks like this one. Just look. Initialization, there is a run guard, zone guarded, like initialize on progress, when initialization done, run application he created. There's a initialization, this dependency initialization. I don't know what is that. It's his initialized dependencies. He generated himself. Look, our initialization steps, but our steps look like this one. So it's very clear. It's very same code he's generating. OWASP M1. Let's check out the OWASP M1. He created this one. He created implementation. Our implementation is here in the end. We created some logic with change notifier. Our change notifier is here. Save pins, load pin, clear pin. Also we have load pin, clear pin, save pin. It might be, it has differences between differentiates between other, but even though like this one, it's unique, you can reverse any code, any kind of application, and do that same stuff. You know? Okay, what I wanted to show you right now. So let's go to the Flutter documentation, how to obfuscate Flutter obfuscation Android obfuscate.code. That's what we need. Let's copy this one. Let's go close this one. Okay, it's not necessary. Let's go from here, cd, this one. Let's do the same stuff with OWASP, our project. Flutter clean, Flutter apt-get. Let's do the same stuff but with obfuscated code. Symbols directory. Why do we need to do this? I don't know, I don't remember. Let's check it out. Where did I write this one? Give me a minute. Let me check it out. Okay, let's write this one. Build the bug info, obfuscate. Build target is APK release. Here we go. We will do the same thing. Okay, let's delete all them from hacked apps. Let's check it out then. Oh, Anna. Let's go to the build, app, outputs, Flutter, finder. Convert this here. Okay, it's obfuscated code. Let's do the same thing here. Hacked apps, APK tool, decode, APK release. Okay, then do the same thing with this one, so we could generate the OWASP. Okay, if you open this with Visual Studio Code, okay, I just want to show you what is the code here. Okay, like this one, like Python inside the Flutter folder, like Python, Flutter Py, hacked apps, app release. This one, it's a folder's name. He will find out lib app so by himself and the generated path where it should be generated. If you open this one, you can see nothing here, no folder. You can see the Dart files, but it's unclear to understand what is what here. You know, every class, every function was like was obfuscated with generated with very messed up code. You know, it's messed code, so you don't understand what's going on here. So that is why, since we are using this one, we can tell to the cd OWASP to the codecs, we can say to the codecs that look mate, it's exactly, no, I guess that it's we have to generate new chat here. Look mate, it's obfuscated project. Can you reverse it to normal Flutter code? Okay, since it's doing the same stuff, we can exit from here. Exit. Okay, and from the C stuff, from the hacked apps app release cd lib cd arm 64, we will use lib app as for file once again, like previous one. Since this stuff is obfuscated, because of that, our class is obfuscated, our project is obfuscated. As I said previously, obfuscating Flutter project doesn't relate to the strings. Strings will remain as it was, you can find them anyway, even though the application is obfuscated. So they're saving tokens, very sensitive tokens, right inside the application. Can be found anyway, even though application obfuscated. Okay, it's obfuscated. Let's check it out, what it will do. Okay, let's close this one. It's doing something. Where is it? Oh, Anna. But it doesn't look exactly same as previous one, since the previous one was very clear, and every class, every feature, every code was very similar to our real project. But this one will not be exactly the same, since we used obfuscating. Obfuscating makes harder to reverse the application, so that is why it will not be exactly the same code, exactly same type of code, same type of files. Let's check it out. Look, we can find our token. We still can find our token here. You see? If you're not believing me, let's close this one. Let's open new one. cd hacked apps. What is that? Release lib rm, not rm. It's app release lib. I forgot. Release lib rm 64. Okay, r2 lib app.so. Inside the lib, we create the main file, which contains only main file. Just that is. That's all. What is this one? Our project doesn't look like this one, Okay, we found this one. Stored pin hash. Stored pin hash is just a string here in OWASP M1. Stored. What is the stored pin hash? Like this. This one is this one. see that even AI can normally generate new code from obfuscated code. So it's very hard to. So obfuscating helps to be protected anyway, but a little bit helps to be like protected. Remember that obfuscation, but it doesn't protects from the strings. Strings will be like visible anyway. You know, strings will be visible anyway, so that is why you have to you don't have to save them right inside your application. Remember that. Okay, let's go and find our key. You see, it still exists in obfuscated code. It's still the key that you hard coded in your application will be visible in obfuscated code anyway. So as we use the AI in order to generate exactly same code, with obfuscated code it was very hard. So that is why look what he generated. It was like similar code, but not exactly that we want. Maybe it finds the internet, what is what. But the not obfuscated code that we generated, that was the meshing code. He generates the meshing code to the real code, and from that he understands what is going on there. So that's what I wanted to talk about, mates. It was a long journey that I've learned about Flutter, especially reverse engineering. In Flutter I'm about maybe 4.6. It's 4.5 years, I guess. So it took a lot of time in order to go deep inside at how it works, or maybe the reverse engineering. It's very interesting. It helps me to find out how people write code, or maybe steal code. Excuse me for that. Like, sorry, I'm sorry for that, because I just want to learn, study from best people's code, that I'm doing like this stuff. So right now, even though if we made obfuscating, even though if we use Dart defines in our application, doesn't matter. All the tokens should not be saved in your application. Remember that. So hard-coded tokens are not safe. Try to use them. Try to save them right in the backend side, server side. Even though you have like payment logic, even though you have something which is needs to be used in the public and not the private keys, don't use them. Use only backend side. Even those stripes have two type of keys, I guess, which is one you will be using backend side, but the public one, it's not necessary to be hidden. So I showed you about the envs. Envs also could be find from your application. As I mentioned that one of my friends also, he's a developer, Flutter developer. I found out the code from his project, which is using what is that secret keys from one service. I don't mention that, which is very paid one. I can use them, but I will not do that, especially exactly. So that's what I wanted to say, mates. Be safe, write very clean code. Clean code doesn't mean that you don't have to follow all this blindly, like follow all these YouTubers from YouTube, even though they have a very like a lot of views, I would say. Remember that. I've seen a lot of people in YouTube that posts about OWASP, the first rule, you have to use Flutter secure store or the least kind of. Remember that. First of all, you have to know about the attack vectors, and if you know about the attack vectors, you can continue. Like the first rule of OWASP top 3 is it's not hardcorely save your tokens, sensitive tokens especially, right insert your application. And also remember that Flutter secure store doesn't provide you like 100% of security. It's layers of security you have to implement. like OWASP, as I mentioned, go SSL pinning, and then you will go to like something like AP cryptography, or maybe you can do obfuscation, you can do any other stuff, but it has specific layers. And remember that, as I said, Flutter secure storage also not safe 100%. Devices can be like rooted, jailbreaked, so it's not safe at all. So all the stuff, safety comes from backend side. If the backend is compromised, that's all. Make the backend strong, mates. So, and also I wanted to mention the Flutter secure storage. Also, it's not about saving access and refresh tokens. I've seen a lot of mates out there, which is newbies, that says their tokens of access and refresh token right inside the Flutter stored Flutter secure storage, and in every request to the server, the tag to the meta channel, it's when you get that specific token from your Flutter secure storage, it makes request to using two meta channels, go to your application, write inside Kotlin, like native codes. It takes that specific code from your from your key storing keychains and backs every time you request this. It has it has its own price, I would say. So okay, remember that. So Flutter secure storage can be used. I don't say that it's not how to say it's not necessary. I'm not using that it's not necessary. You can use that, but specific moment of time, like saving your own emails or passwords, even though you know that jailbreak and root device can be found, those keys, and you can save them. You can save any other kind of things, but not access refresh tokens. Remember that. So that was my video. Especially was top one race. Maybe in the future I will show minor things about the first rule of the OWASP. But by the time I just decided to make videos about the OWASP and everything to relates to security of the applications, and everything that I find out and learn about it, I will try to record a video and post on YouTube. So take care, goodbye.